Well, hello there. My name is James.
Hey, I'm Debra.
And we are delighted to be with you today. And, Debra and I every week do our very best to put together something that's going to be interesting, something that's timely. And this morning, my lovely wife said, honey, I have got a topic today, and went deep on the science. And as she was sharing what this is, deep on the science, I was thinking, oh my goodness, we could talk about this probably weeks and weeks and weeks and never ever feel like we've covered everything that this topic really represents for everyone deeply personally.
I'm honestly so psyched about this topic. If you're watching this on YouTube, a pug did just jump into my lap.
and there's also
we have
this one.
Rescue dog in the middle. So there's a little bit of distraction. But what we are calling this today is the longevity heist. And it's why your circle is your best or worst medicine. This is all about relationships and how they either feed our biology or they steal. Their biology thieves or they give to us. And oh my goodness, should I just dive right in?
I want to preface something before you dive right in. And that is that I know every single one of us have had experiences where we've been in a family situation or a friend situation or just a social situation going, man, the energy in there, I don't know if it didn't feel good, the energy, and maybe people you love, I don't know about their energy anymore, blah, blah, blah. Or you're in a place you go, man, the energy was so good, or that person's got good energy. This is really what you've brought to life for me today. And intuitively, we know this, but now we have phenomenal science, like data-driven science, that says, hey, there's a lot to this idea about how your circle, chosen circle, family of origin circle, has a direct impact on how long you're going to live, how your body deals with stress, your emotional well-being, everything. And now we can quantify and really show us how important it is to protect and really curate our circle with a deep level of mindfulness.
Yeah, to your point, this isn't like new information. No. And I love that it comes up again and again. We talk about energy vampires. And now, like, for me to see this new study that just was published last week that puts it all together and explained it in a way for me to be like, oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
As well as what you just said about good energy. And I think we shared with you back in October when we took our group to Bali, and we had this amazing spiritual priest guru who led us through our opening Balinese blessing ceremony. And he had the most incredible spirit, and he would tell us how important it was to bring forth our good energy.
Yes.
He said, energy. You have good energy.
You have good energy,
and
James.
He would just feel it. And we know it. You know when you meet someone who has good energy and that you want to be around that person more. And on the opposite side, when someone just has cringe energy where you feel dirty, you walk away and it sticks to you. So today we're going to talk about, number one, the study, and number two, how do we keep it from sticking? What can we do to shed that toxic energy, that toxic burden? And also, to really hit it home, we're going to talk to you about how if you don't shed it, what it's actually doing to your longevity, your biology, and why you're going to just say, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Or at least I'm going to definitely do these practices to really help balance out my nervous system, bring me back into wholeness, and hopefully give me back that 1.5% of life that it just stole.
I think we should start right there, the 1.5%, because that was a very compelling when they actually take it out over months and years of your lifetime based on who you're associating with. And before we jump into this, just one last thing.
I got my glasses on.
Well, okay. But wait. We all are in the midst of challenging social stuff right now. No matter where you live, we're here in the United States. It is wicked hard for so many of us, and this is something where I believe this could feel a little personal for us. I want to kind of get you ready for this. You're going to have some things come up for you today, and you're going to be looking at relationships, people that you love, people that you've loved historically but are having a harder time. I hope this empowers you. It's not to actually disrespect or diminish a certain group or person. It's to help you understand how this impacts you and how you can help yourself navigate it with a little bit more understanding of why you feel the way you do and why it's so important to have a proactive understanding about what you can do.
Great. Thank you for setting that up. So this study came out just last week, I think February 18th, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And since it came out, several journals have now been talking about the study, Psychology Today, non-medical journals. And basically what it found is they identified what they call social hasslers. These are the people who create persistent and frequent irritation and friction in our lives. Can be found in social media. They can be found just in our social network, online, in our families, just in our little circles that we mill about, in the grocery store aisles, you name it. Maybe it's just somebody that you happen to run across in your life. But they found that this is each. It's not just like, oh, this just happens with one hassler. Each additional hassler in your network is linked to a 1.5 faster pace of biological aging every single year. And this uses, it's cutting edge using epigenetic clocks to show that difficult relationships aren't just an annoyance, they're a biological heist. So if one person is stealing over 5 days of your cellular youth every year, over a decade, they've hijacked nearly 2 months of your life. That's just one person.
I was going to say, so that's the thing. This is only one person.
Right.
Now, if you are fortunate enough to only have one hassler, I mean, like, come on. I mean, when you read this to me, I was going, oh my goodness, I think I'm losing years due to the hasslers. And I'm very fortunate. I have some amazing, loving friends and amazing, loving family members. But there's also some others you're going, holy goodness. Mm-hmm. So this is something, when you think about biological, this is impacting our telomeres.
Right.
This is impacting gene expression.
Yes.
That's where this becomes deeply compelling.
Mm-hmm. It's actually shortening the ends of our telomeres. So that's where the biological aging and life shortening is coming in from. And it's when you are basically around a hassler, it causes that social friction. Imagine friction on, the telomeres.
Rubbing up against something doesn't feel good.
So, and think about telomere being like that little end cap of your shoelace that holds a shoelace together from fraying. Mm-hmm. So friction is going to cause that to become loose, and that DNA end cap, your telomere, is going to fray.
Okay, so hearing that, makes my cortisol levels rise.
Okay, we got to figure out.
But let's go ahead and lift our oxytocin. There you go, guys. So in case you needed a little boost, there you are. There's your pet boost.
Okay. And so also what happens when we shift into that frayed response with the hasslers, our mitochondria shift into cell danger response.
Cell danger response, I know from mitochondria, could be like when you are in a high stress situation due to like physical something or an unexpected something that happens out of the blue, like an accident. That can impact our mitochondria. When you're eating bad food or unhealthy food, I should say. Environments where there's environmental toxicity. All of those things can have an impact on our mitochondria. You're saying rubbing up against a person who has this friction literally goes directly into our mitochondria and disrupts our mitochondria's ability to build energy and resilience.
Basically, the power plants go on strike. So it hardens the outside of the cell. And when your body goes into defense mode, when you think, literally and figuratively, when you're on the defensive because you're around the hassler, that, irritant, and then what happens is your repair crew, that telomerase activity, that goes on strike.
So just for y'all who are not familiar with telomerase is the enzyme that feeds your telomeres to help keep them long and strong. And the longer and stronger they are, the longer you're going to live, the more resilient, the more vibrant you are.
Yeah.
So that is a direct impact to your telomerase.
Yeah, exactly. And think about how when that happens, you're confronted with that energy and you're going on defense. Like, your purpose, your whole soul purpose is exhausted. And,
Wow.
and because of what happens to your power plant, to your mitochondria, to your energy production,
So-
all due to someone else's drama that's rubbing off on you.
So let's paint a picture together, and hopefully you guys will understand why this picture is being painted. We're living in a time right now, particularly in the United States and yes, other parts of the world, where social media and political stuff, and even with family members, can unexpectedly,
Yeah.
we go online, we're scrolling, and then all of a sudden we see something and boom, it hits us. We are immediately going into this friction.
Yeah.
Our telomerase enzyme is going down. Our mitochondria goes on strike. So, sweetheart, and you said purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that many, if not all, of the people who come and hang out in our community here with Love and Life, really active people, highly purposeful, loving, engaging, just good humans.
Yes.
And I'm not saying there's bad humans, just humans that are very more in that space. And out in the world trying to do the good work. And wondering, oh my gosh, I'm wondering why I'm losing my energy. Or I'm wondering why I'm feeling this sense of loss. And I feel like I can't muster up what I used to be able to bring to life every single day to go out there and be a beneficial presence on the planet.
Yeah.
So this is what we're seeing, right, honey? All this friction is eventually wearing down our mitochondria, at the same time wearing down our purpose. So we're having a hard time getting up and getting back out in the world and feeling like we can do what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. So what I want to talk about right now is kind of how to identify if this is having the effect on us.
Got it.
And so we came up with this idea of the Rouse 2-hour rule. So if after you have spent time with someone or you read something or whatever that social interaction was for you, if you're still ruminating on it after 2 hours, it takes you 2 hours to
work
stop
through it.
ruminating, to recover your heart rate, to feel more peaceful again, then that person, that situation is indeed a biological drain, and they are stealing time off of your
So they're the hassler.
purposeful life. They're the hassler.
2 hours.
Yeah.
And
So it's taxing your vagal tone. If your jaw's still clenched after 2 hours, you know there's more work to do, whether it's setting a boundary around whatever that drain and hassler is or was. But it's also like, how do you recoup that biological time back? And it is practices that we've talked about here with strengthening vagal tone, but it's like reclaiming your personal field, right? Reclaiming your purpose and your energy field, because man, if we don't have it, it's not. It just sets us up for like just trauma and grief and depression and social anxiety and
all the things.
yeah.
So here's a question. I'm not sure if the research did this, and I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. Is there things that we can do in the world? I mean, if you're in the world right now, there's friction. You're in the world and you're a person who cares about the world and cares about world community and being a good person, there's going to be friction. How much when you know about this and you sort of a more proactive psychology and a proactive spirit about what it's like to get up in the morning and get yourself ready to go out in the world, does that have an impact on sort of building a barrier or almost like a protective membrane between you and the friction? You and the
we're losing
one of
dog.
our oxytocin support. Good girl, Shanti.
Honey, that's a great question, and I would refer, if you didn't have a chance to watch or listen to our interview with Udo Erasmus, we kind of were up against this in our inner circle yesterday. We were being asked about the quantum field and and putting our energy out. And I would say the only thing, you're not going to change the hassler.
No.
Right? So the only thing you could do is continue to put out peace within. Do that work on yourself. And also, I would recommend a graceful withdrawal from the situation, from the person, from the hassler that is interrupting your personal peace. Because if you have to and sometimes we are in situations, whether it's at work, whether it's in a family, where you're not going to necessarily rid the hassler out of your life. So it's what are the things you can do to protect your personal peace? Number one, nurturing the vagus nerve and so forth. But also, how can we regenerate, build, support our mitochondria, even if it has to come from an external source? I would say that's where I would start.
Great. So I think a lot of us would be asking this question, okay, great. Deb and I have spent a lot of time over this last year really coaching people on how to help their mitochondria stay strong. The mitochondria relationship to your physicality, your emotional and mental health and well-being, all the things is a connection to your mitochondria. So would you want to go into this experience of understanding that the world has lots of friction right now? You may have a family member who is friction, and you may have someone, like you said, I got to work on graceful withdrawal. Is there ways that you can literally potentiate your mitochondria, like the same ways we would do it in sort of normal functional medicine? Is that the same way you would go about helping yourself to navigate and heal and stay strong in a world that's full of friction?
Definitely. I think it's kind of the personal daily practices that we talk about all the time, starting with photobiomodulation with light therapy, sunlight therapy, red light therapy, first thing in the morning if you can, full spectrum lighting. Those things are so key, so important. Access to nature, getting outdoors, and you can do one and two at the same time if you live somewhere like we do, where we do get a lot of sunlight, and that's awesome and beautiful. We were talking with someone yesterday who lives in the Pacific Northwest, and it's been nothing but rain. And this person was really, really struggling. And so we did recommend exposure to full spectrum light bulbs and, get in front of some red light therapy. And that's kind of the most basic step one that you could do. But then there's all of the grounding practices that we can do, stepping outside barefoot, just walking around the house barefoot, anything you could do. If you live up in an apartment that's not on solid ground, how can you get onto solid ground? I think that's really important, feeling the earth. Even if you have plants in your space, I think it's really important. Put your hands in the dirt every now and then, and that's part of it. Of course, your favorite, cold water therapy, cold water exposure. Not everyone has a cold plunge.
No, but we can hopefully turn a faucet on, make it as cold as possible, splash it on our face.
And your shower or your bath.
Instant upgrade for your vagus nerve, tonifies your vagus nerve, which is sort of the gateway to helping your parasympathetic patency and really helping you to have more of a heart rate variability, where you can have friction and bring yourself back into peace and have that ability to be flexible and be able to modulate your emotions and your physicality.
Yeah, definitely. And then, there's supplements. And as always, we have to say the disclaimer. Talk to your doctors about that. I ask them, are they familiar with integrative medicine practices? Because we love things like peptides. And there's a couple that are really amazing for mitochondria and telomeres. One is called MOTS-c. One is called epithalin or epidolon. It's pronounced a couple different ways. So, link yourself up with a practitioner who's familiar with peptides, because those are amazing and have good research behind them. But one of our favorite, over the counter, I'm not really sure, but through our physician pharmacy, you can get magnesium threonate. That's amazing how it crosses the blood-brain barrier and actually has been shown to enhance and support mitochondria and telomeres.
And tremendous at night. If you've had a day of friction and you're kind of wound up at night, that's a perfect thing to bring in as your evening protocol to help you to disengage from the friction, help your mitochondria recover in your brain so you can actually get into more peaceful space
100%.
And fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. And the other ones that I love earlier in the day is coenzyme Q10 and PQQ. both really direct nutrition for the mitochondria.
I wonder, and this is more maybe philosophical, I'd love your thoughts on this. I think even, it's interesting, we've talked before about how when there's stress in our lives, and maybe we're not saying we welcome it in, but if we have a purpose-filled life, that innately has stress, right? You're just leaning into your edges, you're going for it in life, you're going to have stress. And if you're a person who's an activist and wants to be out there making the world a better place, that is bringing in stress. But there's a whole idea that if we give meaning to the stress, I have the stress because I care about people. Mm-hmm. I have the stress because I want equal rights. I want human decency. I want all these things. It does help our body metabolize the cortisol and be more effective with recovery. And it's interesting, right? Because I think now, as I'm really listening to this, how many of us are really probably going, wow, these last few years has really made it clear. I have some people I've loved for my whole life, or people I've known for years or decades, and certain things have happened and certain values have happened. And we are really trying to understand, how do we go about with this, what'd you call it, like a graceful departure?
Mm-hmm. Graceful withdrawal.
With graceful withdrawal. Yeah. And I'm not saying you feel better about yourself doing it, but really understanding how important it is. If there's somebody in your life that is absolutely friction, full-on friction, you need to really think about the quality of your life, the length of your life. Every part of your life is connected to the friction. And if we know this isn't working, we don't have to make a big statement about it, like say you are friction. We might want
right.
to. You might want to. You are friction. But it's more acknowledging it and just, as you said, pulling away and saying, I'm doing this on behalf of of who I am as a human being. I'm doing this on behalf of my ability to stay on this planet and live long and strong. It's okay. It's hard, but it's okay.
I think, I don't know what doctrine this comes in, but when it says the first step is recognizing you have a problem. I think the first step here is recognizing where those hasslers are, recognizing when you're sort of in it, and then if you have been in that exposure, don't let 2 hours go by before you find yourself some solitude. Even if you can get into 5 minutes of a breathing practice to really start to engage your vagal tone, I think that's going to do wonders. That solitude, that alone time, checking in, breathing, get yourself thinking. Remind yourself, what is it that I'm trying to put forth? That's the only way you're going to be able to shed and repair is doing the work yourself.
Yeah, thank you, sweetheart. I think that's so important. So we've thrown a lot at you today. And I am sure a lot of it's like, yeah, it makes sense. But also, it's also humbling and sobering when you start thinking about people that you've just kind of assumed they're in my life. This is just how it goes. And you knew it wasn't necessarily good energy. You knew it didn't really feel good after you had your time with them. But when you can actually start putting these numbers and this really hard science next to it,
right,
you start really evaluating the ROI of how much am I getting in return, or what is this return really doing to me?
I think for me it was really sobering seeing the number, the 1.5% or the you're losing 2 months out of the year versus I know when I feel my system goes into stress mode, I go into sympathetic versus parasympathetic mode after an interaction that kind of rattles me, but I never thought, and believe me, because I internalize things the way I do, it definitely lasts more than 2 hours. It can last 2 days. And so I think now that I have this, I'm going to recognize it and go to work at repairing that before I let that damage get to me. I think it's so essential to know about this window, have the tools at my fingertips, okay, now I notice that was a hassler. That's unraveling my telomeres. I have work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe bringing this full circle from a standpoint of things we've talked about before. There's so much about that we've learned. We've been with loved ones who we've watched their transition, and we've seen how in different experiences who was in the room, metaphorically and in real life. This is a good time, and it's not morbid, to think about who's in my room right now, and who's bringing light, and who's bringing love, who's bringing acceptance and joy, who makes me feel like there's not anyone in my room who's bringing me friction. You have a lot to say about that. And it's heroic. It's an act of love. It's an act of self-compassion to make sure that your room is decorated with loving people. And I know it can't be perfect. There's no such thing as a pristine room, especially if you're out in the world doing real good work in the world. But there's a lot as many, but to you, it said, honey, how quickly do I notice it? And how quickly do I withdraw as an act of love? Not as an act of judgment, but an act of love.
Self-love.
Self-love.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great place for us all to begin. I would love for people to share what this might have brought up from, because this is a vulnerable subject. It's a real life thing. It's probably been not more real life than it is right now, like it is right now.
Yep. So bring your good energy, your good energy. You've got good energy.
You got very good energy, and you got good energy.
And thanks for listening and watching today. And I just love when we can bring you something that literally just showed up a week ago, and we can put it to work immediately.
Bring it to life. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful week. Much love, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.